Good morning, students. You have asked about the regulation of respiration. So today I'll take neural regulation of respiration. Okay. Now respiration, if you consider respiration, it is a unique physiological process. Why? Because we are not conscious when we take inspiration or expiration. So respiration is involuntary or automatic process. Now again, this cannot be true wholly, because as now I am talking, I am controlling my respiration. If you are asked to talk or sing, you have to control your respiration. So respiration is also, it has got a voluntary control. So again, you all know, if you change blood parameter of oxygen, H plus, carbon dioxide, that will again change respiration. So it is unique. It has got involuntary regulation or automatic regulation. It has got voluntary regulation, and also it has got chemical regulation. Now, if you consider regulation of respiration broadly, what I have said, that in neural regulation part you have got automatic and voluntary control. Automatic control is through pontine and medullary center. I am coming into detail. And for chemical regulation, there are chemoreceptors. It will be taught in some other class. So my today's topic is this part, neural regulation. So now I have told you that in neural regulation there is a automatic part and a voluntary part. So for automatic or involuntary, there are two centers. See, all the respiratory centers, they are present in medulla, medulla oblongata and pons. That's why the centers are known as pontomedullary centers. Now what are the centers present in medulla? The centers present in medulla are two. One is DRG, another is VRG. What is DRG? DRG is dorsal respiratory group of neuron, and VRG is ventral respiratory group of neuron. Okay, these two neurons are present in medulla. Now what about pons? In pons again two more centers are present. One is pneumotaxic center present in upper pons, another is apneustic center present in lower pons. So these four are respiratory centers. Pontomedullary center, medullary centers are DRG, VRG, dorsal respiratory group, ventral respiratory group of neuron, and pontine center are pneumotaxic center, apneustic center. Remember these names because they are asked in Viva. Name the respiratory center, and remember these medullary centers are more important than pontine center. Okay. Now if you see this diagram, you can see that these are DRG. So all centers, remember, they are present bilaterally. So all the centers are present bilaterally. So there are two DRG, two VRG, these are VRG, and this is pneumotaxic center bilateral, and this is apneustic center. Okay, these are the four centers. Now let us discuss a bit detail about this DRG, dorsal respiratory group of neuron. Okay, this DRG, as the name suggests, it is present in the dorsal aspect of medulla. Okay, two in number, bilaterally present. It is present in or near nucleus tractus solitarius. By now you are familiar with the term NTS, nucleus tractus solitarius. So DRG is present in or near this NTS. Okay. Now this DRG gets signal or input from কোথা থেকে পায়? From the chemoreceptors. You have heard about chemoreceptors during your chemical control of respiration. So these DRG, they get signal from chemoreceptors and also from pulmonary stretch receptors. Pulmonary stretch receptors. Okay. Now they get signal from this and they give output to VRG, one output to VRG and one output to the spinal inspiratory neuron. Okay. Now the DRG contains inspiratory neurons only. Inspiratory neurons only. So we write I neuron. Okay. When expiratory neuron will be present, we will write it as E neuron. Now in DRG only I neurons are present. So this is about DRG. DRG is present in dorsal aspect, in or near nucleus tractus solitarius. It gets its input from the chemoreceptor, pulmonary stretch receptors, and it sends signal to VRG and also to the spinal motor neurons. It has got only I neurons, that is, it fires during inspiration. This is about DRG. Now VRG. VRG, ventral respiratory group of neuron. So if you look for location, it is situated ventrolateral medulla. It is present in ventrolateral medulla. VRG has got three parts. One is rostral, যেটা সামনে আছে, another is intermediate, মাঝখানে আছে, and another is caudal. Okay. Now this rostral part, it has got one nucleus retrofacialis, and it has got expiratory neuron that fires during forced expiration. During respiratory system class, what I have told you, that inspiration is an active process, but normal expiration is passive process. But forced expiration becomes active. So there are no neurons for normal expiration, but neurons are present for forced expiration. So in rostral part, this neuron of forced expiration is present. Now if you see the intermediate part has got again three parts. One, intermediate part, first one is the nucleus ambiguous, and there is a complex of a neuron known as pre-Bott-Zinger complex. Okay, and another nucleus is there, nucleus paraambiguous. So in intermediate zone there are three neurons. One is nucleus ambiguous, another is pre-Bott-Zinger complex, another is nucleus paraambiguous. Now this nucleus ambiguous and paraambiguous, they have got I neuron. Okay, and about caudal VRG, in caudal part there is another nucleus is present which is known as nucleus retroambigualis. It also contains E neuron which is functional during forced expiration. Okay, this is about VRG. Now what is this pre-Bott-Zinger complex? Like CVS, you know that the rhythm is generated in the conducting system. What is the speciality of the conducting system of heart? It has got pacemaker cells. Now it is found that in this intermediate VRG, the pre-Bott-Zinger complex is the pacemaker cell. Pre-Bott-Zinger complex is the pacemaker cell of respiratory system. Okay. Now they are known as respiratory rhythm generator, respiratory rhythm or pattern generator. Remember. So now in respiratory system also we are getting one pacemaker cell which is known as pre-Botzinger complex. This pre-Botzinger complex sets the basal respiratory rhythm. It sets basal respiratory rhythm. Okay, and it is known as respiratory rhythm or pattern generator. Now, if you consider this diagram now, let us see that in this diagram, this is DRG, dorsal respiratory group. This DRG, it is getting signal from what I have said, chemoreceptor and lung stretch receptor, and it is sending signal to VRG neurons, the inspiratory neurons also here, and also it is sending signal to the inspiratory spinal motor neuron. Okay, so this is about DRG, what you have learned. Now about VRG. In VRG, it has got three parts. The intermediate zone is known as pre-Botzinger complex. It is the pacemaker cell. It is the respiratory pattern generator. So it sets the basal respiratory rate and sends signal to the eye neuron of this VRG. Now this eye neuron stimulates the inspiratory spinal motor neuron. This eye neuron is also getting signal from the eye neuron of DRG, and so these two DRG, VRG, they stimulate the inspiratory spinal motor neuron. Now this inspiratory spinal motor neuron, it stimulates the inspiratory muscles. What are the inspiratory muscles? You all know, diaphragm and external intercostal. So it stimulates diaphragm and external intercostal, and there is inspiration. Okay. Now when there is inspiration, there will be intake of oxygen going out of carbon dioxide. That will change the PO to PCO2, and that will send signal to chemoreceptor. Again it will go to DRG. Again when you are inspiring, then lung is stretched, and so the lung stretch receptors are activated. That will again send signal to DRG. This is the circuit of this respiration. Now what about the pontine center? In pons, I have said that there are two centers, pneumotaxic, apneustic. Pneumotaxic center is present in upper pons, what I have said. Okay. Now this pneumotaxic center, what is its function? This pneumotaxic center inhibits apneustic center. Pneumotaxic center inhibits apneustic center. What is the function of apneustic center? Apneustic center prolongs inspiration. Inspiration take bariye deয়, depth take bariye deয়, prolonged inspiration. So when pneumotaxic center is inhibiting apneustic center, it is shortening the inspiration. Okay. And what is the function of apneustic center? The location of apneustic center is still now controversial. Okay, but it is said that it is located in lower pons. And this center, what is the function of this apneustic center? Apneustic center prolongs inspiration. Apneustic center prolongs inspiration, and it gets inhibited by this pneumotaxic center and also by vagus nerve. These two nerves, vagus and the pneumotaxic center, they inhibit apneustic center. Okay. Now, so what will be the function of this pontine center? This pontine center basically fine tunes the function of medullary center. Remember, they only fine tunes the function of medullary centers. Okay. This pneumotaxic center, when stimulated, it will stop inspiration. That is, it smoothens the transition between inspiration and expiration. And overall pneumotaxic and apneustic center will fine tune the activity of medullary respiratory center. Okay, this is all about the functioning of this neural control of respiration. Now, this inspiratory ramp signal, I think it has been taught in class. Now, another important thing is effect of transaction at different level. What is that? Say, I have said that these are the 4 respiratory center. This is pneumotaxic center. This one here, there will be apneustic center. This is DRG. This is VRG. Okay. So, these are the 4 centers. Now, if you cut, then what will happen to our respiration? That you should know, remember, and it may come in your exam also. So, first 2 condition. Okay. So, there are 4 centers and what will be the effect of transaction? Okay. So, 4 cut we can make. One is you can cut above pons. So, this is above pons. You can cut below medulla, and another cut can be there in between this pneumotaxic and apneustic center. This is 3rd level of cut in between pneumotaxic and apneustic, and 4th cut will be here in between pons and medulla, pontomedullary. ठीक है? So, effect of respiration. Another point is there, vagus nerve cut. This is another scenario. I'll discuss it. So, first remember, when the cut, the transaction is above pons, then all the respiratory centers they are intact. So, the respiration will be normal. When it is below medulla, when transaction is below medulla, it cannot sustain life. Respiration ceases. Okay. Now, these 2 scenario. 3rd scenario, when you are cutting between pneumotaxic and apneustic center, what will happen? You just remember that pneumotaxic center is inhibiting apneustic center. What is the function of apneustic center? It prolongs inspiration. So, now if you are taking away the pneumotaxic center, then apneustic center will take upper hand. So, here respiration will be prolonged and slow. When you are cutting, the transaction is between pneumotaxic and apneustic. Okay, this is for 3rd, sorry. So, the respiration will be prolonged and slow. Now, along with this pneumotaxic center, if you cut vagus also, then what will happen? There is no inhibitory signal for this apneustic center. So, now there will be inspiratory spasm known as apneusis. Okay, this is inspiratory spasm. If vagus is also cut, if vagus is intact, there only will be the inspiration will be prolonged. Okay. Now, what will happen to the 4th category? That is, the transaction is between pons and medulla. Now, what happened? The fine tuning part is only absent. So, now the respiration will go on, but it will be a bit irregular. But respiration will go on as pre-Botzinger complex is intact. Okay. So, this is about the transaction. Now, okay, so last part is voluntary control. So, up to this was involuntary control and what are the effects of transaction at different level. Now, voluntary control is that voluntary control, everything voluntary starts from cerebral cortex, higher center. Now, this cerebral cortex sent signal through corticospinal tract. this corticospinal tract you will learn during your neuro class. Okay. Now this corticospinal tract directly ends in spinal motor neuron. So it bypasses the pontomedullary centers and directly send signal to spinal motor neuron and to inspiratory muscles. Okay. So this is about voluntary control. Now there is a disease known as Ondine scars. What happens in this disease? In this disease, what happens is that there is lesion in pontomedullary nucleus, but the voluntary control pathway is normal. So now what happens? The person will remain alive if he remembers to take breath. If he or she falls asleep, the person will die, because automatic control is lost and only voluntary control can save him to take respiration. So this is Ondine scars. It is a mythological tale. You go through it. It is a beautiful story about this Ondine, who is a water nymph, and how this story tells about this curse. And in reality, in bulbar poliomyelitis, this syndrome is seen, Ondine scars, where the pontomedullary respiratory centers are damaged and the person can remain awake, can take respiration if he is awake. Okay. So this is about neural control, and there is a modern concept. What is about that modern concept? You remember this thing? In modern concept, they are saying that there are 3 pools of neuron: A pool, B pool and C pool of neurons. This A pool of neuron stimulates the inspiratory muscles. Okay. And it also stimulates the B pool of neuron. This B pool stimulates C pool of neuron. This C pool of neuron inhibits the A pool of neuron. Okay, this is the total circuitry. Now this A pool, it receives signal from central and peripheral chemoreceptors. Okay. B pool, this B pool receives signal from pulmonary stretch receptors, and C pool receives signal from pneumotaxic center. This pool A, B, C, they are present in medulla. Okay. So this is all about the modern concept. It is given here. Go through it, what I am telling you just now. Okay. So these are the 2 concepts. One is classical concept and this is modern concept. But remember that this pre-Bötzinger complex, it is a new development. It is the pacemaker cell of respiratory center that sets the basal respiratory rate. And these are airway lung receptors. This is a chart from Ganong. Here you go through that chart, and here sometimes this Herring-Breuer reflex comes as short note. Okay. So this is all about neural control of respiration. Thank you.